Hello there, my name is Artie, and welcome to the first episode of Thing of the Month, where at the end of each month I'll discuss whatever game, series, album, or some other thing I enjoyed that month. This month, it's Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Let's get into it. I actually got this game quite a while ago, not too long after it first released on Steam. Unfortunately for me, my old computer was terrible. I tried playing this and it was running about 3 seconds per frame, even on cutscenes. It was not good, so I disappointedly refunded it. Last year though, I finally upgraded to my computer to something way better, and then a power surge fried the motherboard, so I upgraded it again. Anyway, this is all to say, I can finally play Spider-Man. If you know me, you'll know I'm a massive comic book fan, and one of my favourite heroes is Spider-Man. It's a bit basic, I know, but everything about him is just so cool, and finally being able to play as Peter Parker in such a way as this game allows you to is absolutely incredible. Let me start off with the gameplay. In terms of core gameplay mechanics, Spider-Man follows a pretty simple loop. Swing around Manhattan, see something cool, do it. I've obviously boiled it down quite a bit, and that something cool in the middle can range from a simple combat encounter to a unique challenge or hidden backpack. This game's map is absolutely huge and chock full with loads of stuff to do, so you'll never really be lacking in content if you're not going out of your way to do everything. Doing these tasks around the map will grant you with various tokens, which you'll be able to use to unlock new suits, upgrade your gadgets and skills, and otherwise just get more powerful. My personal favourite of the side challenges were the Taskmaster challenges, where you'd have to either defuse scattered bombs, chase down a drone, defeat a bunch of enemies, or do a stealth mission, all in a certain amount of time. I always found myself coming up with really creative ways to get the highest score I could, which is definitely something you want to see in a game. As for the swing around Manhattan part of that gameplay loop, it never gets old. Spider-Man Remastered easily has some of the best traversal mechanics I've ever seen in a game. As Spider-Man, you have a slew of awesome maneuvers that you can do while swinging off buildings. Air stunts, zipping across rooftops, running on walls, the works. The traversal is immensely satisfying to play, and made in such a way so that it's super easy to learn, but difficult yet rewarding to master. I especially love when the game challenges your web swinging too, like in this research task where you have to stay in between two areas or you'll take damage, meaning you need to use your web zip rather than swing to maintain your altitude. But that's enough about web swinging. Let's talk combat. The combat in Spider-Man Remastered is fairly basic at first. You can punch, kick and shoot webs to stun opponents, but quickly ramps up in complexity when you start to unlock new abilities. By the end of the game, you'll be able to rack up insane combos, throwing enemies around, pulling them up into the air, or smashing them down into the ground, and so much more. On top of that, you also unlock different gadgets throughout the course of play, starting with your normal web shooters, which allow you to temporarily stun enemies or knock them out if they're on the ground. You also gain things like the impact web, which will almost instantly knock out an enemy, the electric web, which will stun enemies for significantly longer and spread to nearby enemies, the web bomb, which will web up all enemies in a certain radius, and my personal favourite, the spider drone, which automatically attacks nearby enemies, allowing you to clear a crowd of basic thugs super quickly. When you get used to how these gadgets work, you'll be able to use them in perfect tandem with one another, like using your electric webs to stun an armoured enemy so that you can then fire an impact web at them, knocking them out. The stealth combat is really good too. There are a number of combat encounters where you'll be able to stealthily take out your opponents instead of brazenly engaging in open combat. I always find this approach more satisfying, and even though I know the game won't let you stealthily take out an entire Fisk hideout or Demon Warehouse, this game's equivalent of dungeons, I always try anyway. On the topic of stealth, not all missions you play will be as Peter Parker. There are a few areas in the game where you'll play as Mary Jane Watson instead, who uses lures and tasers to stealthily take out enemies. One of my favourite missions in the game is towards the end, where you play as MJ, but can get Spidey to take out enemies for you from the roof. That about encapsulates the gameplay. There is a bit more I could discuss, but we'll be here all day if I do that. So, let's talk plot. The plot of Spider-Man Remastered is absolutely incredible, and feels like something ripped straight out of a comic book, which I assume is exactly what Insomniac were aiming for. I'll be spoiling the plot a bit here, so skip to the timestamp on the screen if you want to avoid spoilers. Each act of the game is really good in its own right, with the first 2 acts setting up a bunch of cool stuff which is finally paid off in the final one. For example, you see Otto Octavius slowly becoming more angry and obsessed with revenge on Norman Osborn, and you know he'll turn into Dr. Octopus at some point, but you're still kinda surprised when it happens. That's good writing. My favourite part of the game is when Doc Ock releases a bunch of supervillains from the raft, and they all appear to attack Spider-Man one by one. While I was watching the cutscene, I counted in my head each time a villain appeared, and when Doc Ock finally showed up at the end and the count reached 6, I knew it meant business. It was really cool. What this game does really well is set up a bunch of stuff ready for the sequel, but still tells its own self-contained story. The problem a lot of similar media has nowadays is that it relies on future movies or seasons or whatever to finish telling the story it started, which really sucks, especially when that second thing which was supposed to finish the story doesn't end up getting made. Spider-Man Remastered gives you the beginnings of things which will presumably appear in the next game, like Green Goblin's glider and the Venom symbiote, whilst not making it so that these things are huge elements of the plot which will leave a story unresolved. The thing that really makes the plot, though, is the cast. Spider-Man Remastered features an amazing cast of voice actors, including Yuri Lowenthal as Peter Parker, who is now my favourite Spider-Man voice actor. He just pulls off the role of Parker so well. The other cast members include Laura Bailey as Mary Jane Watson and Najee Jeter as Miles Morales, both of whom are just as good as Lowenthal at their roles. Fun little fact, actually, Yuri Lowenthal also plays Ben Tennyson from Ben 10, and the guy that plays the Vulture, Dwight Schultz, is also the voice actor of Dr. Animo, a Ben 10 villain. I was so happy when I heard his voice, and it honestly felt for a second like I was watching an episode of Ben 10. Alright, we've talked gameplay, we've talked plot, so let's move on to a final conclusion. In conclusion, this game is absolutely amazing, spectacular, and even sensational. No pun intended. The gameplay is on point, with super satisfying traversal mechanics and fun combat that never gets repetitive. The plot is incredibly well written, and the awesome cast of voice actors only improves the way in which the game tells its story. I would absolutely recommend this game to any Spider-Man fan, or even anyone unfamiliar with the character. That's how good it is. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered definitely merits being my thing of the month. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. If you've enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned every month for a new Totem. And be sure to check out contentunavailable.net, link is on screen and in the description, for my smaller Thing of the Week blog. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you at some point in the future. Goodbye.